There's a quiet kind of ache that settles in your heart when you start to realize you might not be someone's first choice. It's not a loud heartbreak. Not an obvious rejection. Instead, it's a slow drip of uncertainty. You notice the small gaps, the unanswered messages, the last-minute plans, the conversations that never seem to go deeper than the surface. If you've ever been in this place, you know how exhausting it is. You spend more time reading between the lines than actually enjoying the connection. You second-guess your words, your timing, your tone, almost as if you're walking on emotional eggshells. And perhaps the hardest part is that you still hold on, hoping that if you just give a little more, try a little harder, they'll finally see your worth. But here's the truth that will free you: the way someone treats you is not a mystery. It's not hidden between carefully crafted text messages or disguised in mixed signals. It's right there, in the consistency of their actions, in the way they make space for you in their world. A person who truly values you doesn't keep you guessing. They don't disappear without explanation, leaving you stranded in uncertainty. They don't ration out their attention as if you're something they can pick up when convenient. This is not about playing games or demanding constant contact. It's about recognizing the very foundation of a healthy connection: presence, clarity, and respect. When someone values you, they show it in ways that feel steady. You don't have to fight for their attention, because giving it to you is natural to them. You don't have to wonder where you stand, because their actions make it obvious. I once spoke to a woman, let's call her Emily, who told me about a man she had been seeing for a few months. At first, everything felt effortless. The conversations were warm, the chemistry undeniable. But over time, something shifted. He would vanish for days, then reappear with a casual, "Hey, how's your week?" as if the silence meant nothing. Emily found herself waiting for his replies, reading them over and over, and making excuses for his absence. She convinced herself he was busy, that it wasn't personal, but deep down, she felt the truth: she was not his priority. When we accept inconsistent communication, we teach others how to treat us. We signal that our time, our feelings, our presence can be taken for granted. And the longer we stay in that space, the more we begin to doubt our own worth. A man who is truly interested in you will make sure you feel secure in his attention. Even if life gets busy, he will tell you so, and you will feel his sincerity. He won't hide behind confusion or keep you in a place of uncertainty, because confusion benefits only one person: the one keeping their options open. If you've been feeling this imbalance, this quiet, uneasy space where someone's attention feels unpredictable, I want you to remember something. Your worth is not measured by how much effort you can put in to hold their interest. It's measured by the way you hold yourself, by the standards you keep, and by the love you know you deserve. Sometimes, the most healing decision is not to try harder, but to step back, to let their actions speak for themselves, and to choose peace over constant guessing. Because when you are no longer willing to be just an option, you open the door for the kind of love that sees you as essential, irreplaceable, and deeply valued. The walls you can't see. There's a certain kind of distance that doesn't look like distance at first. You might still be spending time together, sharing laughs, and even having meaningful conversations about work, hobbies, or weekend plans. On the surface, everything appears fine. But if you listen closely, not just to his words, but to the spaces between them, you can feel it. It's the invisible wall, the one that keeps you at the edge of his inner world. When someone sees you as just an option, they often won't let you step into the deeper parts of who they are. It's not always malicious. Sometimes, it's unconscious, a quiet way of protecting themselves from becoming too attached, too invested. Because the moment they let you into their real fears, their quiet dreams, their tender memories, you stop being replaceable. You become someone they can't easily walk away from. I remember speaking with a woman named Laura. She had been dating Daniel for almost half a year. By all appearances, things were going well. They went on fun dates. He made her laugh, and they shared easy chemistry. But Laura noticed something. When she opened up about her struggles, her anxiety, her insecurities, her hopes for the future, Daniel would listen politely but never reciprocate. She knew the basics about him: where he worked, his hobbies, the names of a few close friends. But she didn't know what kept him up at night. She didn't know what he was afraid of losing, or what moments in his past shaped the man he was now. It was like she was watching a movie where the main character was smiling, but the plot remained a mystery. This kind of guardedness is a sign, because emotional intimacy is the soul of real connection. Without it, relationships can look vibrant on the outside but feel hollow on the inside. When a man truly values you, when you are more than just an option, he lets you see the unpolished parts of himself. He doesn't just share the highlight reel. He trusts you enough to reveal the moments he's stumbled, the thoughts that scare him, and the dreams he's too shy to say out loud. And just as importantly, he shows curiosity about your inner world, too. But here's the danger. When you encounter emotional walls, you may be tempted to work harder to break them down. You might think, if I just prove I'm safe, if I just show more understanding, maybe he'll open up. And so you try, you share more, you give more, you listen harder, yet the wall remains. The truth is, emotional closeness cannot be forced. It must be invited. And if someone is determined to keep you at a distance, it's not because you're unworthy of their trust, it's because they've already decided how close they want you to get. This is why self-awareness is so important. You have to notice when your connection feels one-sided in emotional depth. Ask yourself, do I know his struggles as well as his successes? Do I feel like I've met the real person, or just the version he's comfortable showing? Does he lean in when conversations turn personal, or does he subtly step back? Because when you are only allowed to know someone on the surface, you're not building a lasting bond, you're participating in a carefully managed performance. And you deserve more than that. The right person won't keep you outside the door of their heart. They'll open it slowly, but willingly, because they know love cannot thrive where trust is locked away. They will not fear the vulnerability that comes with letting you see them, they will embrace it. Because they want to truly be known by you. And perhaps the greatest act of self-love is realizing when someone's emotional walls are not yours to climb, and choosing instead to save your energy for the place where the door is already open. When you're carrying all the weight, sometimes, the sign that you're just an option doesn't come in the form of mixed signals or guarded hearts. It shows up in something far more exhausting, realizing that you're the one keeping the entire connection alive. It starts quietly. You send the first "good morning" text more often than not. You're the one suggesting dinner plans, remembering birthdays, checking in after his big meeting. You keep the momentum going, making sure the relationship doesn't fade into silence. And in the beginning, you tell yourself it's just your caring nature, that you're simply more proactive. But over time, something in you starts to ache. You realize he only shows up when it's easy or convenient for him. He responds warmly when you reach out, but he doesn't initiate as often. He's happy to join in on plans as long as you're the one who makes them. He's perfectly content to receive the attention and energy you give, without feeling the need to match it. I once spoke to a woman named Sophie who shared how this dynamic slowly wore her down. For months, she had been the one holding the connection together with her effort. When she stopped reaching out for a week, the silence stretched on. She realized that without her constant energy, the relationship would simply fade. Here's the truth that's hard to swallow. When you're consistently doing more emotional and practical work to sustain a relationship, you're not in a true partnership. You're in a one-sided pursuit. This isn't about keeping score. Love isn't a ledger, but mutual investment is essential. When two people value each other equally, They both contribute to the connection. They both initiate. They both remember the little details. They both show effort, not because they have to, but because they want to. When only one person is investing, the balance becomes unhealthy. You end up feeling drained, undervalued, and strangely lonely even while technically with someone. Why does this happen? Sometimes it's because the other person has grown comfortable with you doing all the work. They've learned they don't need to chase, plan, or invest deeply to keep you around. And human nature is simple. We value what we work for. If there's no effort required, appreciation fades. This is why it's important to step back and ask yourself, if I stopped initiating, would this connection survive? If I stopped carrying the weight, would they notice? Or would they simply let it go? These questions aren't meant to make you bitter, they're meant to give you clarity. Because a relationship should feel like a shared rhythm, not a solo performance. The love you deserve will never make you feel like you're doing auditions to prove your worth. The person who truly values you will meet you in the middle, not because you've demanded it, but because their heart is already there. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is step back. Stop filling all the gaps, and see what they do with the space. If they step forward, you'll know their care was real. If they disappear, you'll know you were carrying something that was never truly mutual. And while that truth may sting, it also sets you free to save your energy for someone who will carry the weight with you, willingly and wholeheartedly. The truth about consistency. There's a quiet kind of safety that comes when someone is consistent with you. It's not flashy. It doesn't always come with grand gestures or poetic words. It's simpler than that, a steady presence that tells you, I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere without telling you why. But when you're just an option to someone, consistency is the first thing to go. At first, they might be warm and attentive. They check in, make plans, send you little notes that make you smile. And you think, yes, this feels good, this feels safe. But then, it slips. The messages become less frequent. The plans start to fall through. The warm attention you once had becomes unpredictable, here one week, gone the next. And you're left wondering, what happened? Did I do something wrong? I remember a man named Alex telling me about his relationship with Claire. When they met, she was full of enthusiasm. She called often, planned sweet surprises, and made him feel deeply seen. But a few months in, her attention became sporadic. One week she was affectionate and engaged, the next, distant and vague. He started feeling like he was chasing her shadow instead of building something real. That's the thing about inconsistency, it keeps you hooked just enough to stay, but uncertain enough to keep trying harder. It's the emotional equivalent of being handed a glass of water only after you're already thirsty. And that's no way to live. True care is steady. You don't have to wonder when you'll hear from them or whether they'll follow through on their word. You don't have to decode their mood to know where you stand. When someone values you, they make a place for you in their life that doesn't shift based on convenience or distraction. You feel it in the reliability of their actions. They show up when they say they will. They respond in ways that feel warm. Even on busy days, they remember your needs and keep you in mind without being reminded. Here's the hard truth. Inconsistency is a choice. People make time for what matters to them. Even in the busiest seasons of life, we manage to prioritize what we value. If someone's attention toward you feels unpredictable, it's not because they just forgot. It's because your place in their life is not firmly rooted, and that's something you cannot fix by giving more of yourself. Consistency matters because it builds trust. Without it, your heart is always bracing for disappointment. You find yourself overanalyzing every gap, every delayed reply, every canceled plan, until love becomes more about managing anxiety than enjoying connection. You deserve better than that. You deserve the kind of presence that doesn't make you second guess. The kind of love that shows up not just when it's easy, but also when it's inconvenient. Because that's when you truly see someone's heart, in the moments where they choose you. Not out of habit, but out of commitment. If you're in a situation where consistency is missing, remember this: it's not your job to turn someone's occasional interest into steady devotion. Your job is to protect your peace and leave space for the one who will give it freely. The weight of being almost valued. There's a special kind of ache that comes from being almost loved the way you deserve. It's not the sharp pain of outright rejection, it's softer, more deceptive. It's the quiet sadness of getting just enough affection to keep you hoping, but never enough to feel truly secure. When someone treats you like almost, you live in a strange in-between. They're not cold enough to walk away from, yet not warm enough to fully lean on. You can see the potential. You can almost touch it, and that's what makes it so hard to let go. I once spoke to a woman named Hannah who told me, "He's everything I've ever wanted, when he's present. The problem is, I never know when that's going to be." Her words struck me because I've heard them so many times before from men and women alike. That bittersweet rhythm of being given affection in bursts, followed by stretches of distance. This kind of dynamic is dangerous for your heart because it trains you to settle for moments instead of consistency. You start to measure love not by how steady it feels, but by how intense the highs are after the lows. And without realizing it, you begin to confuse unpredictability with passion. But there's something else that happens too, something deeper. Being almost valued can slowly erode your self-worth. You begin to think, if I were just a little more patient, a little prettier, a little more understanding, maybe they'd choose me fully. That's the trap. You start working to earn the love that should have been freely given from the start. The truth is, being valued isn't about you proving your worth, it's about the other person recognizing it without hesitation. A love that is right for you will never make you feel like you have to earn your place in someone's life. It will never keep you waiting in uncertainty, wondering if today you'll matter to them. Hannah eventually realized that the almost version of love she was receiving was costing her too much peace. "I felt like I was living in a holding pattern," she told me, "like my life was waiting for him to finally choose me." And when she let go, she discovered something powerful. Her heart felt lighter, even in the grief of loss, because she no longer had to fight for the bare minimum. If you find yourself in a place where someone's affection feels conditional, unpredictable, or rationed, I want you to remember this: you are not hard to love. You may simply be offering your heart to someone who is unwilling or unable to hold it fully. Love that is real, deep, and nourishing doesn't make you feel almost seen. It makes you feel undeniably, unshakably valued. It doesn't come and go like the tide. It stands beside you through the storms and the quiet days alike. You deserve that, and the moment you stop accepting almost, you open space for the love that is whole. Choosing yourself, walking away from someone who treats you like just an option, is not an act of bitterness, it's an act of self-respect. And yet, it's often one of the hardest things you'll ever do. Because here's the truth: even when you know deep down they aren't showing up for you fully, your heart will still remember the good moments. You'll remember the laughter, the shared glances, the late-night conversations where it felt like they saw you. And those memories will try to convince you to stay. But here's what I need you to remember: moments are not the same as a foundation. A relationship cannot be built on a few beautiful flashes surrounded by long stretches of uncertainty. Love, real love, is not measured in how good it is sometimes, but in how safe, steady, and mutual it feels most of the time. Choosing yourself doesn't mean you stop loving them overnight. It means you decide to stop loving them at the expense of yourself. It means you recognize that being just an option slowly chips away at your confidence, your peace, and your sense of worth, and you are no longer willing to make that trade. I've seen people leave situations like this and blossom in ways they never expected. One woman told me, "Once I walked away, I realized I had been shrinking myself to fit into the space he was willing to give me. When I left, I had all this room again, room to grow, to breathe, to just be me. That's the gift of reclaiming your self-worth. You stop trying to fit into someone else's limited vision of you, and you start standing fully in your own. If you are reading this and wondering if you should let go, ask yourself, do I feel valued here? Or tolerated? Am I receiving the same care I give? Or am I always pouring into an empty cup? Do I like who I am in this relationship? Or do I feel smaller, quieter, less secure? Your answers will tell you more than any advice ever could. And when you choose yourself, you're not just walking away from them, you're walking toward the life you deserve. A life where love is steady, mutual, and affirming. A life where you don't have to guess if you matter, because it's shown to you every single day. You are not too much. You are not too hard to love. You are simply too precious to be anyone's backup plan. So choose yourself, not because they failed to, but because you finally realized you always could. Don't let your heart live in someone's waiting room. You deserve a love that is clear, whole, and chooses you every single day. If these words spoke to you, leave a heart and follow Whisper to Heal, where we learn to heal, love ourselves deeper, and never settle for less than we truly deserve.